Every loaf of bread on your table carries a hidden cost. But today, that cost just became a weapon of war. While you were sleeping, a high-stakes ultimatum was delivered to Ottawa that could fundamentally change the price of your groceries and the stability of global peace. Canada is the third largest wheat exporter on Earth, moving 34 million metric tons of the world's highest quality grain. This morning, Donald Trump demanded exclusive preferential access to that supply on strictly American terms. Mark Carney didn't just say no. He drew a line in the sand that is currently sending shockwaves through every global trading floor. Before we dive into how this affects your wallet, hit the comments and tell us, should food ever be used as a bargaining chip in a trade war? The world's largest economy just told the world's third largest wheat supplier that their grain now belongs to Washington. But there is a reason Carney's rejection was so immediate and so firm. This isn't just about a trade deal. It's about a calculated attempt to turn a sovereign Canadian resource into an American strategic asset. If you want to stay ahead of these daily geopolitical shifts that the mainstream media is missing, make sure you're following the pulse of this conflict right here. The logic used by the administration has already collapsed 6 times before today. Yet they just doubled down with a formal document released at exactly 8:41 this morning. This joint request from the USDA and the USTR wasn't an offer. It was a takeover attempt disguised as a requirement. The 4 conditions hidden inside that document are staggering. First, they demanded a right of initial refusal, meaning every grain of Canadian wheat would have to be offered to American buyers before a single bushel could be shipped to Canada's long-standing partners in the Middle East, Asia, or Africa. Second, they moved to force Canada to scrap its century-old grading system to match American preferences, effectively erasing Canadian brand identity on the global market. Third, they demanded a seat at the table to dictate Canadian export prices. And fourth, they sought direct investment access to seize operational control over Canadian grain terminals and infrastructure. This is the exact same blueprint they tried to use on oil, uranium, and natural gas. But wheat is different. You can stockpile uranium, but you cannot stockpile the bread that feeds billions. Let us know in the comments if you think Canada can survive this level of economic pressure. Why does this feel so personal? Because unlike oil, the journey from a Canadian wheat field to your local bakery is remarkably short. If this supply chain breaks, the consequences aren't measured in months. They are felt in weeks at the dinner table. Canada currently feeds 70 different nations, many of which face fragile food security. By demanding priority, the U.S. isn't just asking for a trade favor. They are asking Canada to deprioritize the survival of millions of people in North Africa and Southeast Asia. At 1:29 p.m. today, Mark Carney stepped to the podium in Ottawa, flanked not just by agricultural ministers, but by the ambassador to the UN World Food Programme. That single visual told the world everything they needed to know. Canada is no longer treating this as a bilateral spat, but as a global humanitarian defense. If you find this breakdown helpful, share this with someone who needs to see the real story behind the headlines. Carney's response was a surgical strike. He didn't just reject the 4 demands. He launched 3 immediate counteractions that have effectively trapped the administration in a diplomatic corner. First, he formally registered Canada's wheat export commitments with the United Nations, turning commercial contracts into sovereign obligations that no trade demand can override. Second, he caught Washington off guard by announcing 5-year supply deals with 7 different nations, locking in markets that are now permanently out of American reach. Finally, he activated the agricultural sovereignty framework, meaning every single grain export will now be vetted as a matter of national security. The markets reacted instantly. Wheat futures are climbing, and American buyers are realizing they may have just been priced out of their own backyard. This is the defining moment where trade policy meets the most basic human need. As we track these daily escalations, stay tuned to see how Washington responds to being outplayed on the global stage. It's clear that Canada has decided its resources serve its own interests first. And if you want to be part of the community that understands these shifts as they happen, make sure to subscribe for the full story every single day.